Why people lose respect for you when you try too hard. Have you ever noticed something strange? The harder you try to make someone like you, the less interested they sometimes become. You reply instantly. You always make yourself available. You agree with everything they say. You try to prove that you're useful, loyal, intelligent, or worthy. And yet, instead of getting more respect, you get less. People start taking you for granted. They stop appreciating your effort. Sometimes, they even start treating you worse. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how do you stop it? The answer is not to become cold. It is not to become arrogant. And it is not to stop caring about people. The answer is to stop trying so hard to control what other people think about you. This is one of the oldest lessons in Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius understood that your peace disappears the moment you make your happiness dependent on something you cannot control. And other people's approval is one of the things you cannot control. You can be kind. You can be honest. You can give your best. But you cannot force someone to respect you. And the more desperately you try to force it, the weaker your position becomes. Think about it. Imagine someone constantly texting you because they're afraid you'll forget about them. At first, you might appreciate their attention. But if they constantly need reassurance, are you angry with me? Did I do something wrong? Why didn't you answer? Do you still like me? Eventually, their attention stops feeling valuable. It starts feeling like pressure. Now compare that to someone who is comfortable with themselves. They care about you, but they don't need you to constantly prove that you care. They can walk away from an argument without begging. They can hear criticism without falling apart. They can spend time alone without feeling abandoned. And strangely enough, people often respect this person more. Why? Because confidence doesn't beg for permission to exist. The first reason: you give away your power every time you desperately seek someone's approval. You give them a little piece of your emotional control. If they praise you, you feel good. If they ignore you, you feel terrible. If they criticize you, your entire mood changes. If they accept you, you feel valuable. If they reject you, you question yourself. Now ask yourself, who is controlling your life? You or them? The Stoics believe that you should separate what is within your control from what isn't. Your actions are yours. Your intentions are yours. Your effort is yours. But someone else's opinion, that's theirs. You cannot control it. So why build your identity around it? You don't need to convince everyone that you're a good person. Live in a way that makes you respect yourself. That is enough. The second reason: trying too hard communicates insecurity. This is uncomfortable, but important. When you constantly try to prove your value, you may accidentally communicate that you don't believe you have value. Imagine two people entering a room. One desperately wants everyone to like him. He talks too much. He laughs at every joke. He agrees with everyone. He constantly checks whether people are paying attention. The other person is calm. He listens. He speaks when he has something to say. He doesn't need to be the center of attention. Which person appears more confident? Usually, the second. Not because he is better, but because he doesn't look like he's asking the room for permission to feel important. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to prove itself every 5 minutes. And this is where many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means dominating other people. It doesn't. Sometimes confidence is simply being comfortable enough to say, "No, I don't agree. I don't know. I made a mistake. I need some time," and then moving on. The third reason: you become too available. Being available isn't bad. Being kind isn't bad. Helping people isn't bad. But when you constantly abandon your own priorities for someone else, something changes. You teach them that your time has no boundaries. You cancel your plans every time they call. You answer every message immediately. You solve every problem. You are always there. And eventually, your presence becomes expected instead of appreciated. The Stoics valued discipline because discipline creates freedom. You should have your own life, your own goals, your own work, your own interests, your own time. You can love people without making them your entire identity. You can care about someone without losing yourself. Because if your entire world revolves around another person, what happens when they leave? You collapse. But if your life has a foundation of its own, you can survive almost anything. Stop performing for respect. Here's another trap. You start performing. You want to look successful, so you talk about your achievements. You want to look intelligent, so you try to prove that you know everything. You want to look strong, so you never admit weakness. You want people to admire you, so you constantly show them what you have. But the more you perform, the more exhausted you become. You aren't living anymore. You're acting. And eventually, people can feel the difference. There is something powerful about a person who doesn't need to advertise themselves. They don't tell everyone how strong they are. You notice their strength, They don't constantly talk about how successful they are. You notice their results. They don't demand respect. Their behavior earns it. That is the difference between demanding respect and becoming respectable. What should you do instead? First, stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. If you made a mistake, admit it. If you didn't, don't write a 10-minute defense of yourself just because someone misunderstood you. Sometimes silence is enough. Second, stop chasing people who repeatedly show you that they don't value your presence. One of the most painful lessons in life is realizing that effort cannot create mutual respect. You can give someone your attention. You can give them your loyalty. You can give them your time. But you cannot give them a reason to value you if they have already decided not to. Let people leave, not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself not to beg. Third, build a life that doesn't depend on applause. Work on your body. Work on your skills. Work on your finances. Read, learn, create, spend time alone. Become someone you genuinely respect. Then something interesting happens. You stop asking, do they like me? And you start asking, do I like who I am becoming? That is a much more powerful question. The Stoic perspective. Marcus Aurelius had enormous responsibilities. He was surrounded by people who wanted things from him. He faced war, political conflict, illness, betrayal, and loss. Yet his philosophy repeatedly returned to the same basic principle. Control yourself, not the world, not other people, not their opinions, not their reactions. Yourself. You can spend your entire life trying to control how others see you. Or you can spend that same energy becoming the person you want to be. One path creates anxiety. The other creates strength. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it is right? Or am I doing this because I need someone to approve of me? That question can change everything. Because when you stop trying to impress everyone, you become more honest. When you stop chasing everyone, you become more independent. When you stop begging for attention, you become more peaceful. And when you stop needing everyone to respect you, you finally become capable of respecting yourself. Remember this, you don't need to convince people of your value. Your job is to live according to your principles. Let your actions speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your character speak. And if someone still doesn't respect you, let them. You were never supposed to be valuable to everyone. You are supposed to become valuable to yourself. Because the strongest person in the room isn't always the loudest. Sometimes it's the person who no longer needs anyone in the room to tell them who they are.